Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week, we're enjoying some nice spring weather as we hop on over to a bunny picnic. That's right. We are here to discuss the March 1986 HBO special, The Tale of the Bunny Picnic. And along with that, we also watched a couple of other spring 1986 Muppet TV appearances. But first, Sam, something we haven't talked about. The trailer has been released for Jim Henson Idea Man.
I did not watch it.
You haven't watched it?
I didn't watch it yet.
What kind of Muppet podcaster are you?
I'm so sorry. I totally forgot. I saw that it was posted on our Discord, which you can join if you sign up for our Patreon, talk to other Commitment fans, and see stuff like the trailer. But I didn't
Unless you're
watch
Sam
it yet.
and you won't watch it.
Yeah, I got a lot of other stuff to do.
Well, you don't need to watch the trailer for what I'm going to ask you. This is the Ron Howard directed documentary about Jim Henson. It's as you're listening to this, it'll be on Disney Plus in about 2 weeks because it's the end of May that this is coming out. Sam, I just wanted to ask you, what are you looking forward to potentially seeing in this documentary? Obviously, we don't know much about it yet, but we've seen a lot of Jim Henson's life through his work on this podcast. The one things I will say from the trailer, it was nice to see Dave Goelz. He's in the trailer. That's great. And they, I think, actually did lean into putting these people in the cube.
That's what I was going to say. One of the things I'm excited about is to see if they ever explain the cube, why they're in the cube, if they do anything, if anything opens up and it's like the cube, and if there's ever just anything light shed on why it is the cube that they are in.
I am sure they are going to mention the cube, so I'm sure there'll be a tie-in, and it'll be pretty obvious. But I remember when the first images were coming out from the documentary, and there was an article that referenced them sitting in a set that was reminiscent of the cube, and I was like, oh, well, yeah, it kind of looks like it.
I feel like the article was actually a little bit more strong about it, wasn't it? Wasn't it like they are in the cube? They have designed it on purpose to be the cube.
Yeah, and I thought maybe that's just some editorializing.
Yeah.
And then I watched the trailer, and it looks exactly like the cube in a way that could not be an accident.
I just think that's such a weird choice because of the themes of the cube, which is you are trapped in hell, and also television is destroying humanity or something like that. It's like,
well, I think the thing is that they are clearly going to touch on in the documentary is Jim Henson's obsession with time and how there was never enough time.
Okay.
And Brian Henson even alludes to how he always wanted to be famous. And then he says at a certain point, being famous came at the price of losing his innocence. So I think he's like, referencing the tough family dynamic and how he didn't always have time for the wife and kids. But yeah, it seems like they're going to dive into some deep stuff, and it's not just like, a recap of Jim Henson.
You think we'll get any more Rolf stuff we've never seen before?
I would, what I'm hoping for is that we'll get some of the outtakes or behind the scenes of things like, Jimmy Dean's show or the Purina dog commercials kind of thing, that maybe we won't get full clips that we haven't seen, but I'm hoping for more behind the scenes things that we haven't seen.
Yeah, I want to see him and Jimmy interacting with each other.
Right?
That would be one thing I'd be very excited to see.
Yeah, I'm hoping for maybe some like early on-set clips of like a young Frank Oz, young Jerry Nelson when they first joined the troupe. Just some more of the human moments, I think. Seeing them to like interact as these people who had no idea what was ahead of them.
Yeah.
I think would be really interesting.
I feel like this is something we get a lot with, no offense to it, with Sesame Street. There's a lot of Sesame Street behind the scenes stuff and a lot
Right.
of documentaries about Sesame Street. And I just would love to see maybe the emphasis a little bit less on Sesame Street to some degree and more on these other weirdo projects.
Yeah, the trailer showed some Sesame Street stuff, but it showed actually a surprising amount of Labyrinth and Dark Crystal in the trailer.
Oh,
And I
okay.
don't think a shred of Fraggle Rock was in that trailer.
Well, that's too bad.
That is too bad. I'm sure there will be some in there,
Uh-huh.
but I think they're going to focus on, which I think rightfully so, the Jim Henson that people maybe don't know as well.
Yeah.
And when they're talking about the creatures and things of like, okay, yeah, this isn't a man who was born wanting to make a cute frog puppet.
Yeah.
This is a man who wanted to be on TV. He made a cute frog puppet, and that got him on TV. But then he had other thoughts and ideas of what he wanted to make.
Maybe this will be the thing that leads to a Muppet Renaissance too.
It's a little bit of a Ouroboros situation because not only would that increase listenership to this podcast, but it would also extend the podcast by adding more things for us to watch.
And that would be hilarious, right? So
I don't want to
tell your
die
friends
before I watch the ABC Muppet series again.
I don't think that would happen because it wouldn't they couldn't retroactively insert projects into the timeline.
But yeah, I am excited to see this documentary, mostly to again see if there's things in there we haven't seen before. And yeah, it will come out on May 31st on Disney Plus, and our episode all about it should be out around June 3rd, June 4th, maybe. We'll see. But right after that documentary is out, we will be talking about it. One of our rare detours into the modern day here on Commitment.
It would be hilarious if we were like, this thing's popular right now. Listen to our take on it in 10 years.
I mean, there's been like, Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock is a thing that we don't address on this podcast because we
That's
still
a good
haven't finished watching old Fraggle Rock.
Yeah.
I also feel like it's something where, and we've talked about this before, when we talk about things that are outside of the Muppets, but still Jim Henson.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Henson did not live an incredibly long life. And so we are going to watch as much as we can from this man's life that he put out. So I think especially when it's a documentary about him, and we are coming up to the end of his life in our commitment to chronological order, I feel like it makes a lot of sense for us to watch this documentary.
Mm-hmm.
But today we're here to talk about some stuff that nobody's talking about these days. So Sam, how about you tell the people what we watched this week?
First, we watched a clip of Kermit and Scooter presenting the Best Animated Short Award at the Academy Awards, which aired March 24th, 1986. The duo extol the many advantages of being an animated character that can go anywhere and do anything that you can imagine, before realizing that they are not able to actually open the envelope that they have to announce the winner because their hands don't work. Statler and Waldorf heckle them from the audience, and when we cut back to the stage, Jim has appeared to thankfully open the envelope for them. Next, we watched The Tale of the Bunny Picnic, airing March 26th, 1986. When Commitment and the thing that we're reviewing, like when real life and the past intersect like this, we should do something special. It's like a astrological event,
We should have had a picnic.
We should have recorded this outside having a picnic. Once upon a time, there was a village of bunny rabbits who were definitely not Fraggles. These rabbits loved to sing and play and celebrate and have festivals, very unlike Fraggles. One of these festivals is the Bunny Picnic, a feast during which the storyteller visits the village and tells all the bunnies a story of not like Fraggles at all, I swear.
No. A storyteller bunny? Why would you think that was anything like a Fraggle?
As the village prepares for the picnic, Bean Bunny, an imaginative, timid, and clumsy little boy bunny, wants to help too. But when he tries, he messes up and gets sent away by his brother and sister, Lugsy and Twitch. Bean wanders the fields of a nearby farm, feeling sad, when a dog jumps out of nowhere and starts chasing him. Bean runs back to his family to tell them that there's a dog nearby, but they don't believe him, both because Bean is prone to fantasy and because the farmer they live next to hates dogs. I don't know how they know that, they just do. And that is why they even live near his farm in the first place. He's never going to get a dog. His parents send the three siblings to their great-great-great-great grandma's house for some picnic supplies. She's also brewing up a sleeping potion. which is an important but weird detail to know, and Bean takes a little taste of it secretly. On their way back home, Bean gets sleepy and falls behind, deciding to take a nap in the grass. The dog runs across Bean and decides to wait for him to wake up so he can follow Bean back to the bunny village. Because you see, this dog was adopted by the farmer recently to get rid of the bunnies once and for all, because the farmer is allergic to bunnies and sick of sneezing all the time. If you hate dogs and are allergic to bunnies, maybe you shouldn't be a farmer, but that's another matter. Should the dog succeed, the farmer will officially adopt him and give him a name. Should the dog fail, it seems like the farmer might kill him. Anyway, the dog is also really stupid and he falls asleep while waiting for Bean to wake up. Then Bean wakes up first before the dog, sees the sleeping dog, and slips away, leaving unknowingly his scarf behind. The dog wakes up and is distraught that he lost Bean, but notices the scarf, gets the bunny scent, and starts tracking. Back at the village, the storyteller has arrived and is telling the story of a giant hedgehog who scares a fox away from his village. This is also important. Bean tries to tell everyone about the dog again, but no one believes him until the freaking dog shows up and starts chasing them all around. They escape into the brambles, and the dog camps outside, waiting for the bunnies to come out so he can catch them. And all seems lost until Bean has an idea. He has all the bunnies construct a giant bunny suit, which they all pile into and use to scare the dog, and then they'll knock him out with the sleeping potion. So the bunnies enact their plan, but Bean, who's on top of the pile and voicing the giant bunny, gets too scared at one point and falls down, collapsing all of the bunnies and the suit. The dog sees through their plan at this point and catches Bean, but his siblings intervene and save him from the hapless dog's clutches. Just then, the farmer arrives, which causes the dog to cower in fear because he's failed at his job. Bean notices this and tells the dog that he'll help him get away from the mean farmer. Then Bean confronts the farmer, which makes the farmer start sneezing, and is soon joined by the whole village, who makes the farmer sneeze so hard his pants fall down and he runs away. The village adopts the dog, give him a stupid name, and live in peace for the rest of their days. The end. And finally, we watched a segment from the Television Academy Hall of Fame, which aired April 21st, 1986, in which Jim memorializes puppeteer Burr Tillstrom, who had died a few months prior. He introduces a short film in which the Muppets, Sherry Lewis, Howdy Doody's creator Buffalo Bob Smith, and Bill Baird sing a song and reminisce about Burr, before cutting back to Jim, who inducts Burr into the Television Hall of Fame, an honor accepted by Fran Allison of Burr's Kukla, Fran, and Ollie.
Well, we could talk real quick about the Academy Awards and the Television Hall of Fame before we get into the main event this week. So first up, the Academy Awards from March 24th, 1986. Kermit and Scooter are introduced by, I believe, Jane Fonda?
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Jane Fonda, like current Jane Fonda, is burned into my brain. And like 9 to 5 Jane Fonda. But like glitzy 80s Oscars, I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's Jane Fonda.
Everybody's hair got really different in the 80s, so sometimes it's hard to tell.
But introduces Kermit as a star and Scooter as someone still waiting for his big break.
Yeah.
Kind of rude.
Very generous to Scooter, honestly.
I mean, the fact that Scooter gets to be there is pretty generous, I think.
He only gets to be there because they needed Statler and Waldorf to be there.
Because Richard said yes and Frank said no.
Yeah. And they said, we have enough to pay for 2 of you. Which ones will it be?
Odd that they get to announce the animated short film category. That's a weird,
yeah.
Like, no offense to that category, but feels like a lower tier category.
Yeah. I mean, also they talk like they are animated characters. Is a puppet an animated character?
I
would
would
like
say,
I should know this, but
as someone who does both animation and puppets.
Yeah, that's right. I do puppets because it's easier than doing animation. So in that way, they're definitely not.
But they talk about the freedom of animated characters, and they can do anything the imagination can conjure.
Yes, and they are referring to themselves because that's the only thing that makes the joke later work.
Yeah, and I think they're sort of maybe not saying we are animated characters, but I think it's sort of like, in the Muppets Go to Walt Disney World, where they sort of are peers with Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
So it's not that they're not saying they are cartoons, but maybe they're saying that, like, we understand we're closer to cartoons than we are to humans.
Yeah.
And the beginning of this is all very earnest, almost in a surprising way, where I'm like, are they just going to be like no jokes the entire time? It did make me wish that they did this more often. Just like they can even do it completely earnest with like a little bit of jokes here or there, but
Mhm.
have just Kermit and Fozzie come out of the Oscars and present an award, people lose
Yeah.
their minds.
Yeah, and they could be normal, like you said.
They don't need to
Like if
host. Like I know everyone wants them to host, and I think hosting would be great, but you could do this kind of thing, and people would be just as happy.
Yeah, I think this is kind of stupid, but you split the difference. You let Jimmy Kimmel keep hosting. I don't mind Jimmy Kimmel. I kind of like him.
Yeah.
But then the Muppets are the ones who are running the Oscars, so they're just
Yes.
like popping up throughout.
Yeah.
And
The
Scooter's
rats are
like,
doing stuff backstage. They're messing
Yeah.
up. Beaker explodes something. It falls on Jimmy Kimmel.
kills Jimmy Kimmel.
But that's all right. Bunsen can just clone Jimmy Kimmel. And so another
That's-
Jimmy Kimmel comes out.
And then we have several Jimmy Kimmels.
I think we just wrote the best Oscars ever, Sam. But yeah, in this one, Scooter, who I hadn't thought about earlier, but now looking back, he did have his left hand under the podium the entire time he was talking at the beginning of this. Now lifts an envelope up from below the podium, clearly attached to his hand, and Kermit tells him to open the envelope. And he says he can't. And Kermit's like, "Come on, dude, you just open." He's like, I can't. That's all there is to it. I can't."
I thought this was extremely funny. I
Mhm.
loved this little clip. I wonder if people who didn't watch every single thing that Jim Henson ever did, like we did, if they immediately would understand why he couldn't open the envelope. Like this is a pretty I feel like this is a pretty high concept joke.
Yeah, I think there's enough chuckles coming from the crowd that it
Yeah.
seemed like they got it.
Yeah.
I am sure there was a wave of laughter of people being like, I get it, in the way we probably did when we were watching it.
Right.
But I am sure as that started to happen, the other people started to catch on of like, oh, he
His
can't
hand
open
don't
it.
work. But I'm sure there were also like people watching at home, some ding dongs who were like, huh?
Yeah.
Why
Come on, Al
not?
Pacino, just open the
it."
envelope.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, as we've heard many times, there are people on set who try to mic the puppets or who
Yeah.
try to, like, hand things to puppets to read. And
Uh-huh.
so this happens in life where people forget what a puppet can and cannot
Yeah.
do.
And we've had, I think even like Sujith and other people have talked to us about like it's the easiest thing in the world to make Wembley fly around,
Right.
but the most impossible thing in the world, like we couldn't figure out how she's balancing those damn rocks, how Red was balancing those rocks a couple episodes ago. I still don't know.
Well, I think there's in Muppet Christmas Carol, I think it is, there's a shot of Kermit locking the door of his workplace when he's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember correctly from the commentary, they had to like do that like filmed in reverse, and it took a bunch of takes or something because getting like Kermit to just like successfully turn a key in a lock was one of the hardest
Wow.
things.
There's a part that I didn't notice until we hosted that one at the Roxy, where that showing of Muppet Christmas Carol at the
Yeah.
Roxy, where Scrooge is walking at the beginning in the beginning opening song, and he walks under a clothesline or something with a pigeon
Yeah.
on it.
Yep.
And I think you or Rachel, somebody's like, "How do you do that?" And I was like, I mean, I guess I know, but also it was probably so hard to do that.
I've actually had I had a friend who just last year, the year before, had watched Muppet Christmas Carol for the very first time, and she is not a big Muppet person. Like she doesn't like musicals and doesn't like Muppets. So
Mhm.
like when she told me she was watching it, I was like, I got bad news for you. I think she enjoyed it ultimately, but that was the one shot that she sent me a picture of and was like, how they do the
Yeah.
birds, because they're moving, they're singing, and they're above everything. And I
Yeah.
was like, honestly, probably just blue screen. Like they just
Right.
filmed it as a separate element. But that's exactly the type of moments that lead to jokes like this being funnier,
Yeah.
because we have seen things where a full body Kermit is singing Happy Feet and dancing around.
Yeah.
But we know that there's a magic trick happening there.
Uh-huh.
And if you want them to open an envelope, they can't.
Yeah. And in this moment, it kind of felt like they were talking directly to us in a way, like me and you. They're like, yeah, we can't. But that's also such a complicated thing with the Muppets too, because this always happens to me where you'll talk about or like we'll read something where they're like the bike scene's so cool in the Muppet movies, and when I'm watching it, I don't even think about it.
Right.
I never am like, I never ask how they do that. I'm just taking it all at face value. So it must be so like frustrating and rewarding in a way to be like, I'm sure some of them are like, I want you to notice this. And some of them are
Right.
like, I don't want you to notice this. And just that interplay is very interesting.
Well, Statler and Waldorf show up in the audience,
This part made
which
me laugh so hard. It's like the best GIF. I can't believe nobody's made a GIF of the camera cutting to them, and they're both shaking their heads like, they're so disappointed in this moment.
well, I'm wondering if this was a pre-taped thing or if this is lip synced to pre-recorded dialogue with different puppeteers, because that's
Oh,
also Jim and Richard
yeah.
as Statler and Waldorf. And so I don't know if they did it like they did with the dog this year at the Oscars, where they taped it before the ceremony and just cut it in, or if they had other puppeteers out in the audience lip syncing.
Huh.
Hard to know.
Hard to know. I'm thinking since there weren't any really famous people next to them, maybe it was pre-taped,
Right.
but I don't know.
But when we cut back, Kermit's gone, and there's a weird bearded man standing where he was. So much like that's the moment where I'm like, okay, Jim is very good on camera sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's like he seems like a host and natural on camera. And in times like this where he's just like, I'm here now, I'm gonna open the envelope, let's do this.
Oh, I thought he did. I thought he did great.
I
Because
think he did good once he started talking.
Yeah.
The moment of him just being there, I think is very weird.
Yeah. Well, it's probably weird to like stand up behind a podium with like a frog sock on your arm and be like,
Yeah.
"Hi, Al Pacino again. You're still here." But I think he's getting way better at being
Yeah.
on camera.
I think he wasn't necessarily prepared for getting the applause he got when they cut back to
Oh,
him.
sure. Yeah.
Like, I think he was prepared to just immediately start reading the envelope,
yeah.
and the crowd applauded when they showed him.
Yeah.
And I think he seemed a little bit like taken aback of like, oh, I have to pause and wait for them to finish
Oh yes,
clapping
I'm
for me.
extremely famous, and everyone in the world loves me. The moment where he starts talking and he's still talking like Kermit, and then he's like, "Oh, excuse me, I have a frog in my throat," and then Scooter's like, "Ah!" That's such a perfect moment. And it's done so well.
I was kind of hoping Scooter would call Jim boss, like he does.
Oh yeah,
Like I
call
know
him
he does.
God.
Yeah, if Kermit's boss, you must be the
You are
maker.
God. Yeah.
But yes, Jim announces the winner, and she gets up on stage. And I don't know if I've ever seen anyone less interested in a Muppet before.
Scooter's just like standing so close to her. She doesn't
Scooter-
acknowledge or look at him at all.
Scooter, when she walks up, says, "Congratulations." She looks directly down at Richard Hunt and says, "Thank you."
I didn't notice that. Oh no.
She walks up, Scooter says, "Congratulations," and she looks straight down at the floor and says, "Thank you."
He probably thought that was so funny.
Well, I think it's like that's funny. The funnier thing is that like Scooter backs out a shot while she's giving her acceptance speech, and I'm like, oh, he probably just like pulled Scooter down, like so that way he was out of the shot. But I was like, oh, this is still weird because there's like a guy crouched next to her legs while she's giving her speech.
Yeah.
But it's even worse than that because he didn't pull Scooter
He's
down.
just bopping back and forth over there.
You see his little nose peek into the corner of the frame just every so often, and you're like, this woman is having like the biggest moment of her creative life right now.
Yeah.
And she's just got this little weird yellow puppet staring at the side of her head the entire time.
Oh, I don't feel bad for her because if I won an Oscar for, best
Right.
picture and Kermit the Frog gave it to me, I would go up and be like, "Hi, Kermit."
Right. But
I
she
love you.
clearly doesn't give a shit.
That's true.
So like that's to me is like, she probably, I'm, assuming a lot here, but to me, I'm like, oh, she's probably annoyed by the fact that like her amazing moment is tainted now by
I
having these
don't
puppets
know.
associated with it.
I don't know about that. She also makes it like her speech is a joke. So I think
That's true.
she's like, I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
It's like one of those moments where it's like record scratch. Yep,
Right.
that's me. I don't think anybody in the whole world would be mad. In retrospect, especially to be like Kermit was there. That means everyone will know about my acceptance speech forever.
True. I think that's probably the only reason, her acceptance speech is up on YouTube. So
That's right. I was watching this with Rachel, and she was like, "They gotta let these guys be on the Oscars more often. They're so funny."
yeah.
This was like, I don't know. There's just something about this that was so charming, and so like, oh, these are just like little television creatures who are supposed to be crawling around TV shows, getting up to mischief.
I kind of like just this weird breaking of reality that the Oscars has done in the past, where Shrek will be sitting in the audience, like cut to R2D2 doing this thing, or
Yeah, why
Yoda comes
not?
out to give out an award to Gollum or something. And it's like, in those moments, like, everyone, obviously understands what is happening. But in that moment, you're like, oh yeah, Yoda's at the Oscars, cool.
There's plenty of room to be like austere and serious and goofy in a 3-hour, 4-hour long
Yeah.
television event too.
Yeah, and I think that's just they haven't done that in a while, where they decide to break reality. And
Well, John Cena was completely nude in the most recent Oscars.
yeah, but that was all real.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
That's John Cena, and he was naked. So
And he did have to go get the curtain off of the thing and dress up in it. That all
Yeah.
actually happened to this poor man. The dog clapped, Matt. The dog clapped in the latest Oscars.
To be fair, I guess the dog is the perfect example of this, of breaking reality.
And everybody fucking loved it when the dog clapped.
Yeah. It's so much so that people were actually mad when they found out it was pre-taped.
Yeah.
They're like, wait a minute, he wasn't actually there reacting to what was happening on stage. Well, the other shorter thing we watched this week is Jim Henson and the Muppets on the Television Academy Hall of Fame. And they are there to pay tribute to Burr Tillstrom and induct him into that Television Hall of Fame. And this is from April 21st, 1986. And Burr had passed away in December of 1985 at the age of 68.
When this first started, I thought it was just for Burr Tillstrom. And I was like, such an extravagant set for this guy.
Well, especially, I shared a cut down version of this with you, but the original clip is 2.5 hours long of the entire ceremony.
Okay.
So I imagine if I had sent you the original clip and you were looking at a 2.5 hour long tribute to Burr Tillstrom, you'd probably be a little alarmed.
Well, yeah, 14 minutes in a 2.5 hour long ceremony is pretty sizable amount of time, though.
It's also like the end of it, pretty much.
Oh, interesting.
There's only like one small segment after this in the full ceremony. But yeah, Burr Tillstrom is a name you've probably heard of say before on this podcast. And if you know anything about Jim Henson, have probably read before. Burr Tillstrom is the man behind Kukla, Fran, and Ollie, a show that was instrumental to Jim Henson's idea to make a puppet show. But also Jim met Burr, where? At the Puppeteers of America Festival in Detroit in 1960.
That one year where everybody met everybody, right?
Yes, because this was it was through Burr that Jim met Don Saleen, who, is obviously the man who created the look of the Muppets, essentially. And we mentioned this previously, but when Jim and his family moved to New York, they ended up living in the same building as Burr Tillstrom.
Oh, yeah, because we weren't sure if that was on purpose or not.
It seems like it was on purpose, and they continued their friendship from then on. So I think he was a bit of a mentor, but also a friend. And this, unfortunately, this clip has been removed from YouTube at the moment. I'm not entirely sure why. I'm sure it's just, there's Sesame Street Muppets, there's Muppets. Who knows?
Just relax. What's the problem with keeping this up, guys?
Yeah. But Jim comes out to say a bunch of nice things about Burr Tillstrom, talks about how a lot of people owe Burr a huge debt of gratitude because he came up with the idea of using a live person with puppets. And it's kind of wild to learn that Kukla, Fran, and Ollie had no script.
I think we've learned that before, and I think Brian J. Jones maybe mentions it or something, but I had heard that before, but it is bonkers. Why not just write a script, I guess?
Well, because they also have musical numbers in there.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think we have learned this before because I think we were astounded by the fact that they weren't even just doing the 5-minute Sam and Friends length things without a script. They were doing like full half-hour shows without a script.
That would be
how bad that would be? I go to how bad that would be.
It would be bad and terrible. But apparently not that bad because he got inducted into the Television Hall of Fame and everybody loves him.
Well, Jim talks a bit about their friendship, and then we cut to some Kukla, Fran, and Ollie clips. Notably, a clip using that old black magic.
The witch, right? The witch who's
which makes much more sense than Sam singing it.
That's where
Sam
Jim
Friends.
got the idea, frankly.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a couple moments in here where I'm like, Rachel, I was watching this with Rachel too, and she was like, why are you watching these old clips from the Muppets? And I was like, this is the guy Jim Henson ripped off.
The one thing that I think Jim improved upon is naming his troupe of Muppets.
The Kuklapolitans is a confusing term, frankly.
Well, and it's like if they called them like the Kermitpolitans.
Yeah,
Like you're naming your troop after one of your
one
characters.
guy, the Kermitizens or something like that.
Yeah, it's just it's Kuklapolitans is not a. It just doesn't roll off the tongue.
Or they could be named like the Samonians or something like that. After Sam from, and people would
Right.
still be like, who the fuck is Sam?
Yeah, Kermit from the Simonians.
Yeah. But the individual names of the characters are great. Kukla is an all-time great name for something.
But the fact that Kukla is Kukla and Ollie is like those names should be switched in my head.
Yeah,
Ollie-
I guess that's true.
Ollie looks like a Kukla.
Yeah.
Well, after that little montage, Kermit is here now, and he's here to give us a, very earnest biography of Burr Tillstrom.
One thing that when Jim comes out, one thing that's like very subtle is there's like a beautiful arrangement of Rainbow Connection playing
Yeah.
under him that like continues throughout his whole introduction. I was like, I would love to have that, like an isolated version of that. It's so pretty.
Yeah, and it's subtle enough that you may not even pick up on that's what it is
Mhm.
at first. It's like when somebody comes out on a talk show and, The Roots or whoever will play
Yeah.
a theme song or a song that's relevant to their career. And they're usually like the only person who's like, hey,
Uh-huh.
you played that song I like. Good job.
Uh-huh.
Well, after Kermit shares that biography, Jim shares a more artsy piece that Burr did where two bare hands say goodbye to each other at the Berlin Wall, which was interesting to learn that Burr Tillstrom also dabbled in the artsier side of puppetry. It seems like something that would be in a Jim Henson Presents the World of Puppetry episode,
Uh-huh.
which I think a Burr Tillstrom one would have been fascinating.
Guess just too famous. Probably he wanted to focus on people who weren't as famous, maybe.
I mean, it also was, obviously near the end of Burr's life, so maybe his
Yeah.
health wasn't great and they couldn't do it.
Yeah. It's also not like a live puppeteer, I guess. Maybe that's a big part of it,
That's
too.
a good point, too.
Yeah.
But after that piece, Jim and Kermit throw to the Muppets tribute that they've put together. And they sing a song about Burr called Let's Sing a Song About Burr.
And they really went all in on this thing.
I was
It's
shocked.
extravagant.
This song was written by the other Ray Charles, the one that worked on The Muppet Show.
The Muppet Show, Ray Charles, yeah.
Yeah, and we learned that Statler and Waldorf were attracted to Beulah the Witch from Kukla, Fran, and Ollie.
That must be the witch who was singing Old Black Magic.
Yeah. But I think Statler says, she really turns me on. And I'm like,
boy.
oh, I don't like
She does
that.
kind of look like them.
But then Lamb Chop shows up with Sherry Lewis. Howdy
She's in her
doody.
perm era. Still hot, though. The
Howdy.
80s were tough on hair. It's too bad.
I feel like Jim's lucky to have like sort of been stuck in the 70s. Like I feel like
Didn't
Jim
get
could
a
have made some
perm.
bold choices
Yeah.
in the 80s.
Yeah. He tried in that one that Muppet Babies music video where he has like the sunglasses on and like the tie.
Yeah.
And then he was like, no, this isn't for me. I got to back off.
Oh man. My dad got a perm in the 80s.
My mom had a perm, but your dad having a perm is more hilarious.
But I'm just now imagining if Jim Henson had decided to get a perm in the 80s.
His kids probably told him he should.
Well, Howdy Doody then also shows up. Interestingly, drops a line about not being chummy with Kukla, Fran, and Ollie.
Yeah, I guess he didn't want to be phony or something.
Yeah, maybe they were too stiff of competition.
Yeah.
And maybe that was more known at the time that like
Yeah.
these were competitors. And so he was like, yeah, we weren't really friends, but I
Could be.
respect them.
Yeah, I guess I took it more just like our paths never crossed, but I don't know. Either way, it's an interesting thing. Like you could get a pass for just being like, I love that guy that one
Right.
time.
But yeah, you're singing a tribute song and you're like, yeah, we weren't really friends.
It's also interesting to me that we haven't seen Howdy Doody on this show up until now. I don't
No.
think. Probably
don't think so.
mentioned in something that we've watched, but
It seems
for
like the
such a
marionette
famous
side of
puppet.
things wasn't necessarily Jim's interest.
yeah.
But then we also see Bill Baird and Charlemagne the Lion.
Who we've talked about him.
We've talked about
before.
Bill Baird because Jerry Nelson worked for him. I think Jerry Jewell worked for him.
Oh, yes, okay.
A lot of the people who have worked with or still work with the Muppets at one point worked for Bill Baird.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I think his name has definitely come up. I don't think
Yeah.
we've ever seen Charlemagne the Lion before
Uh-huh.
in our viewings. But yeah, it was, nice to see all these people coming together. There is an unsettling moment that I don't like.
Okay, what is it?
They're singing the song. They cut to this like this 2x2 4 square quadrant thing where we have Bill Baird and Charlemagne. Buffalo Bob Smith is there with Howdy Doody. Sherry Lewis is there with Lamb Chop. And in the top left corner, we have Kermit the Frog and Jim Henson. And because the song about Burr is pre-recorded, Kermit is singing, but Jim's mouth is not moving.
That part I noticed, and I thought maybe he's really good ventriloquist now all of a sudden. But no,
Yeah.
that's a much.
It looks
more,
like Jim is doing ventriloquism because I think he's got
his
that.
mouth's kind of held weird.
Well, I think he is used to to get the mouth movements on the puppet right.
Yeah.
To move his mouth at the same time, even if he's not singing. But he's trying not to do that, and so he's holding his mouth weird, and it looks like he's doing ventriloquism, which is not a skill that Jim Henson has.
He's just jealous of Sherry Lewis.
But it looked so wrong, seeing Jim and Kermit together, and Jim's mouth not moving.
I thought you were gonna say both of their voices were playing at the same time, which would also be really creepy.
That bothered me less. I think it's the visual that bothered me. That it almost makes Kermit seem too alive.
Yeah. Something I noticed in this clip especially, is that Jim and Kermit again talk to each other in a way that up until very recently they basically have not done. Kermit is acknowledging Jim's existence, which is a very big break from what they usually do.
Yes and no. There's been times on the Tonight Show where Jim is talking about Kermit as just a piece of fleece or something like that.
I guess
and
it goes
Kermit's turning into him and being like, "The hell are you doing, dude?"
Yeah, Kermit usually is there's this man attached to me who is an inconvenience more than anything.
Right.
But I feel like in this one they were a little bit more like Sherry Lewis, Lamb Chop, Kermit, what do you think about that?
Well, and Kermit mentions something about basically Bert Tillstrom, I think, staying behind the scenes and not upstaging his creations.
Yeah, right.
And he looks over to Jim when he's saying that. I was really hoping there's a moment where Jim slips up a little bit, he stammers on his words.
The same thing, yeah.
I was so hoping Kermit would be like, finally got that out, huh?
Yeah, great read, Jim. You want to take that one again? Then they start fist fighting on stage.
But yeah, this wraps up with Jim announcing the induction of Bert Tillstrom into the Television Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And to accept the award is Fran Allison of Kukla, Fran, and Ollie.
I wrote, good job, Jim, because he did a good job at this, I thought.
This is a very good job, Jim.
He really poured his heart into making this short film, too. A short film is has more effort put into it than some of the stuff that they have aired on television in different circumstances where it's not just part of a show.
It did do one thing, though, for me, Sam. It made me realize how much I miss our Muppet friends.
Yeah, me too. This was a good batch of the core Muppet crew. And we're definitely still at I think it's interesting that lately the Fraggle Rock Muppets have been going on shows. It's Gobo and Red have been going on shows. Because nowadays, they don't care about that. Uncle Traveling Matt is the only one who can be out in the world.
There is a bit of that where they will always reference that, we found a Fraggle hole here in your studio.
Yeah.
They're still keeping up the kayfabe of Fraggle Rock a little bit.
Yeah.
But they definitely are letting Gobo and Red out into the world more than they ever did previously.
But I guess I wonder if we would feel similar kinship to the Fraggles if they had been allowed to be on the Academy Awards and stuff like that, at the time. Could you imagine if Uncle Matt had to present at the Academy Awards? That would be so annoying.
That'd be so extremely
mad.
Annoying. But yeah, I just kind of miss these guys.
Yeah. They were really firing on all cylinders in the Bert Tillstrom thing. And I miss Frank. I was kind of sad Frank didn't show up in Bunny Picnic. Yeah,
Frank's off doing his own thing. Mm-hmm. He's directing. We'll talk about Little Shop of Horrors this summer. So he's a busy man. But now it's time for the main event, the thing we are here to talk about today, the Tale of the Bunny Picnic.
Bad title.
The Tale of Bunny Picnic is fine. You don't need another the. But this is the HBO special that aired on March 26, 1986, with music by Philip Balsam and lyrics by Dennis Lee, famously the songwriters behind Fraggle Rock.
Okay, I didn't look it up, but I was obviously these are Fraggle Rock songs.
Yes, this is also written by Jocelyn Stevenson, who writes on Fraggle Rock, but directed by Jim Henson and David G. Hillier. So David G. Hillier, hard man to find out about, but the biggest thing I could see is that he directed a bunch of Teletubbies later
Oh,
on.
okay.
Basically, the last thing on his IMDb is pretty much some Teletubby stuff in the 90s, but
Hmm.
could not find if this man is still alive, what he's up to, nothing. More interesting, though, than the Teletubbies, around the time that they were making Bunny Picnic, he was a music video director for bands like The Cure and Iron Maiden.
Oh, cool.
So I don't necessarily know where Jim found him. Maybe he directed one of the, Muppet music videos and I just couldn't find that
Yeah.
information. But yeah, it's interesting
From
that this
Iron Maiden
is
to the Tale of the Bunny Picnic is quite a change in direction.
in probably
To
the same year.
Teletubbies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting duo. And I don't know if that's just because maybe Jim didn't have time to be on set all the time. And so they switched off, or when he was being the dog, they had this other guy direct. It's just weird to have a co-director on a Muppet project that is not a typical Muppet person.
Yeah.
But before we actually get into the bunnies, where we watched this was on archive.org, and there's a little Jim Henson intro that's about 50 seconds long. But Jim essentially gives all the credit for this idea to Cheryl Henson, which, as we talked about previously, is not really how this happened.
That's what. Okay, I was wondering that too. I couldn't quite keep the story straight in my head.
So what we talked about previously was that Cheryl Henson, I believe, is the one who told him that he should do something more kid-friendly.
Yeah.
But Jocelyn Stevenson, I believe, is the one who actually had the idea from their picnics at Hampstead Heath and was like, hey, look at all those bunnies. We should do a story about bunnies. So, yeah, it's
Brutal.
fine. The funniest thing to me about this intro is that it feels like they had 5 minutes to shoot it. And Jim was like, I must be walking the entire time. And they're like, really? Why? That seems more complicated than it needs to be. He's like, I gotta go.
He's on his way somewhere else through the woods.
Yeah.
He's taking a shortcut.
I
to
am
his
walking
next
from
meeting.
here to there. You have 5 minutes on my walk to film me. That's it.
Yeah. And the story he tells is boring too.
Yeah, I think it's probably why they cut it out for the VHS tapes.
We saw some
Completely
rabbits and then a
unnecessary.
dog chased them. That's the whole story. And he makes his daughter sound like she's like 4. But she's a grown woman at this point, right?
Yeah, no, Cheryl Henson was 25 at this point.
He makes her sound like she's a little baby.
He does talk about her like she's like 4 years old.
Uh-huh.
Well, let's get into Fraggle Rock the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, is this a Fraggle Rock project in bunny clothes?
Why didn't they just, I mean, I guess I can understand why they didn't just make it Fraggle Rock, but I mean, it could almost operate as like the last episode of Fraggle Rock with a little bit of tweaking.
Yeah, you've got these cute little animals who are singing fun songs, have weird festivals, picking vegetables from a garden.
Living a carefree life.
There's a dog that barks at them when they go too far in one place. There's a large mountain of a man who wants to kill them.
Who wants to dump them on the head.
So yeah, it's
The storyteller is just a Fraggle character.
yeah, they didn't even try to change that one. But yeah, overall, Sam, how'd you feel about the Tale of Bunny Picnic?
I liked it better, and this happens to me a lot. And I think maybe we talked about this on the podcast, or maybe not. But when I'm writing the synopses of Fraggle Rock episodes, when it's one that I have to write a really long chunk for, that's usually an episode that is not one of my favorites because it's so hard to describe what happened and like what series of events led to it. The story doesn't just flow. So when I was watching this one, I was like, this is fine, a little bit boring. Then when I was writing the synopsis, I was like, really, it just takes a lot of words to describe pretty much very little happening. But there's just, it's like overly complicated story that I didn't find entirely satisfying. But I liked the characters, like the dog and Bean. I think they were all fun, but the story was just like not very good in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think I had weird expectations maybe going into it, or at least incorrect expectations. I think I was so hopeful for some Emmett Otter energy.
Yes, totally.
And we definitely don't get that.
Yeah, at the end of it, I thought I did take a minute to reflect and think, was this like Emmett Otter? Because at the beginning, it is kind of like they even show those ducks that are maybe the same exact ducks that are in Emmett Otter, the little like wood duck looking remote control ducks. And then at the end, I was like, oh no, Emmett Otter was like really complicated and had a bunch of different characters who all had satisfying stories, and it ended on a bittersweet note. And like, was like really thoughtful, beautiful story. And this was like the bunnies all got in a big bunny costume and there's a sleeping potion for some reason. So it was more like a Hey Cinderella or something.
Yeah, and I think like this is for me. It's like the Space Frog episode where that whole episode is just a Steve Whitmire character yelling nonstop about the problems and all this stuff, and most of the bunny picnic is a Steve Whitmire character yelling a lot. And I don't dislike Steve Whitmire, but there's a lot of Bean Bunny just screaming about things.
And Bean has big like original character do not steal, definitely not Wimbley Fraggle energy in this too.
Yeah. There are some moments though that stand out as moments where I'm like, oh, Bean Bunny's a weirdo. And I don't think we get that elsewhere. Maybe we do. I obviously haven't seen the Jim Henson Hour yet, but like
he's got a strange internal life.
Which I love in some moments that he does his little I'm a fire breathing dragon. He's like, Bean's not here. I'm like, oh God.
That's like from The Exorcist.
Yeah.
It's like, Bean's not here right now. That was a cute little voice he did when he was a dragon though. Bean is cute. And I guess we'll get into the beat by beat, but I love that everybody hates him from the get-go. Like that is not something that they brought to the character later. It's just like the first line about Bean. It's like Charlie Brown, where the first Charlie Brown comic is like how I hate him. The first Bean line is like, dear God, here comes Bean.
Well, and that seems to be something that was true amongst the Henson Company. I think later on we will see, and like obviously our clearest memory is probably from Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Apparently Bean becomes the target of Muppet violence. Like they throw him around a lot.
In Jim Henson Presents, I think, or the Jim Henson Hour. I think he is a big character in that.
Yeah, but Brian Henson noted in the commentary for Christmas Carol that like inside the Muppet Company, we love to hate Bean Bunny.
I honestly think Bean is one of the better Muppet characters that has ever existed.
Yeah, and we'll talk a lot more about him later because we will have the return of a Muppet of the Week segment this week.
Yes.
But I will say there are definitely some characters I hate in this thing that I don't hate.
Okay.
And I was going into this again with that Emmett Otter hope.
Yeah.
But right off the bat, Sam, I think it was made pretty clear this was not the relaxing, cozy holiday viewing experience.
Not cozy. This is not cozy at all. That is accurate for sure. No, what are you doing? The song has, first of all, I'm only thinking of this because I just rewatched this movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The song kind of has Manson's songwriting vibes to it.
I was going to say, this feels very like 70s drug culture, Hair, the musical kind of hippie thing going on.
Yeah.
In a way where I was immediately like, uh-oh, this is going to be obnoxious.
Yes, and Manson wrote that kind of music, but also with like racist, cultish undertones that, I could see, a bunch of people in like robes out in the desert singing that song. And it also has the similar vibes to the Go to Sleep song, the lullaby, that gets crazier and crazier.
That's what I was almost expecting, was for it to speed up and get more unnerving or play in reverse or something at some point, because it just felt so cultish.
I mean, it does make sense that rabbits would be like cranked up to 11 in everything they do. But yeah, the coziness, I think that hits the nail on the head for me of what I didn't like about it, was that it was like an uncomfortable viewing experience. The Bean has a few slow moments, but otherwise it is just like
well, and Lugsy is one of the characters I absolutely hate. I wish the dog ate him.
I don't know why he doesn't work when Philo, like either, I don't remember if he's Philo or Gunge, but that is the same voice. And I don't know why he doesn't work in this capacity. But
well, because he's the only asshole.
That's true.
He is in a world of like pure goodness of cute bunnies. And he's like, hey, look at this fucking guy.
Yeah.
You're too small, even though you're 1 inch shorter than me.
He's not that small. He's not any smaller than his sister.
Right. He has his older siblings, Lugsy and Twitch, who both make fun of him for being small, and he is pretty much the same size as Twitch. And I don't like Lugsy because his whole character is being mean to Bean.
Yeah.
Like, he has nothing else going on.
No. There's like not a there's not a lesson to learn that could make him a better person.
Well, and
There is
even
no
once,
glimmer of that better person.
right? Like, even at the end, once it's revealed that like Bean was right about the dog, for a moment you see a glimmer of humanity in
Yeah.
Lugsy. And then almost immediately he's like, "Yeah, but you're gonna get in the way, so get out of here. You don't know nothing." And it's like, what happened to that moment where you were like, "Oh, Bean is right about things sometimes,"
And Bean's like, I should have let him kill you.
which very nearly does. But I will say, like, when the opening was just Lugsy and Twitch picking on Bean, I was a little worried about this thing, and that I thought it was gonna be horrible.
But did it turn out to be as horrible as you were afraid of, or no?
No, and I think
Okay.
because Bean is a good character, and I think there
Yeah.
are enough charming moments throughout it that didn't make me hate it. But it felt so Fraggle Rock from like the get go. Like, not
Yeah.
only the opening song, but after they pick on Bean, he gets his own sad song where he wanders off on his own and sings a song that sounds like it
Yeah.
has nothing to do with this
Yeah.
plot or
It's like-
show.
It's like they were like, wow, we have all these Fraggle Rock songs we didn't end up using.
Yeah.
And this script that we couldn't quite break, where Sprocket's like chasing them and we don't quite know what to do with it. What do we do? And then Jim's like, use it all. We're being efficient.
The thing is like one of the like a lesser episode of Fraggle Rock is what
Mhm.
this feels like to me. And the songs feel like the worst kind of Fraggle Rock songs where you're like, I'm not going to be humming that tomorrow.
Yeah,
like,
I can't remember any of them except the dog song was kind of fun.
Well, and obviously
that one which will never leave my head. That's right. It scared me.
But yeah, during his opening song, I Had a Dream, Bean Bunny, we learn he dreams of being the king of the bunny picnic. And we get this weird visual effect to make it dreamlike. But it was another moment that was sort of unsettling that, I don't know, it felt weirdly cultish or drug culture-y.
You mean that he's wearing a crown and they're like all carrying him around? Is that what you mean?
Well, and there's like this blue filter over
Yeah.
parts of the screen and it's sort of warping the reality a little bit. And I don't know. Just felt I still was so unsure about what this was going to be by that point.
Yeah.
But that's when he's interrupted by a barking Jim Henson dog.
I got so amped when I heard that Jim Henson bark.
Just a bark, 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 bark.
I will not say that this dog ended up being like, I don't think he's worthy to be in the same realm, like the same heights as Rufus and Rolf.
Right.
He's close though, but not quite. They
Yeah.
should have just used Rufus again.
Rufus would have been a good one. Or just take Rover Joe from the Muppet Musicians of Bremen, who is essentially the same character.
Yeah. Pathetic.
Pathetic dog who works for a shitty farmer, doesn't want to kill things.
But he's a cute-ass dog, and they do some great full-body dog puppetry in this.
Yeah. And to be fair, he is not opposed to killing things at first.
No, he wants to kill so badly. He just can't. He's just not good at it. There is never a moment where he's like, I shouldn't snap this guy's neck.
No.
He just doesn't get around to it.
There are multiple moments where it almost felt like he was going to. Like, I was preparing for a massacre multiple times in this special.
Yeah.
But it's mostly just Jim's Rolf voice, but maybe like a little older and more southern sounding.
Yeah. It's by the end of it, it's morphed into Dr. Teeth entirely also.
But Bean runs away from the dog and tries to hide under the bed. And while he's there, he imagines himself as a terrifying, fire-breathing dragon bunny.
It's genuinely terrifying. It kind of looked like a character from the Alice in Wonderland movie we watched.
I love that puppet so much.
But it looks like a puppet that would say, kill me, if you ran across it, you know? Just a head fused on the wrong body.
Absolutely. That puppet is on display at the Center for Puppetry Arts.
Yeah, I feel like I have seen that before, like a picture of it or something.
Yeah. And it is truly wild that is something they built for like a one-off, like 5-second joke.
Yeah.
In this special.
They should just bring that. Since Bean Bunny's broken, they should just go get that puppet and bring him back.
I can't imagine it's in much better shape since it was only used once and probably not refurbished at all.
What are you talking about, guys? I'm perfectly normal. It's me, Bean Bunny. Don't kill me.
I'll kill you. Look at me. I can fire breathe. But we cut back to Bean Bunny cutely pretending to fire breathe under his bed. But also, creepily, this is when he drops the Bean's not here. And he tries to tell his siblings about the dog. And Lugsy, who sucks, tells him the last time anyone saw a dog was before we were born. Which was probably like 4 years ago. Like,
Yeah,
that's not that long.
one reoccurring joke in this is that these bunnies do fuck all the time.
Oh, we'll get. I did the math, Sam. Don't
Okay,
worry.
cool. Perfect. His family is annoying. Every single one of them. His dad's annoying. His mom is kind of annoying. They're all just bad. He's got a bad family.
His mom is more of like a nothing character. Like, it's
Yeah.
almost like they tried to do a Ma Otter, but like didn't give her an interesting story like Ma Otter has.
Yeah.
But his dad is super annoying because his dad is just there
So
to
scared of
be
dogs.
the
and
word
just
dog.
scream.
But
A
they're
lot of
making
shouting. His character is only shouting.
but they're making Bunny picnic pie. But they have to go to great grandmother Bunny's house to get the pickled parsnips. Almost like they have to go to the garden to get some radishes so that Boober can cook the soup.
Parsnip basically is just like a different kind of radish, isn't it?
Yeah, and Bean's afraid to go. Much like, Red would be afraid to go to the Gorg's garden.
Sure.
But back at the farm, where I was honestly a bit surprised to be, I
Yeah.
didn't expect so much of this to be from the dog's point of view.
I liked that. I feel like
Oh,
that
yeah. Big fan.
went a long way in salvaging this.
But the dog is practicing chasing bunnies by barking at some chickens.
Mhm.
And then sort of just starts talking to us a little bit, like kind of breaks the fourth wall. And we hear someone who sucks even more than Lugsy, the
Who?
worst farmer in the world.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was, and this is the tradition of terrifying Muppet humans comes
Yeah.
back after like decades of it being gone.
Yeah, we have a full body, I guess, costume where it's just, again, the head is a Muppet head.
We don't see the head though. Really,
He's in shadow for
it's like they
all of
built it
this.
and then they just said, no, no one can see this.
Maybe it's like the Jaws shark. They're like, this is more terrifying if we don't show him.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
But he yells at Dog so much. I'm like, what are you doing, you stupid beast? And he calls him useless multiple times.
Uh-huh.
And
This guy fucking hates dogs. We were warned.
so they're on their way to the great grandmother's house. And along the way, we see Bean pretending to be a weasel because he wants to be terrifying in case the dog comes out again. And what do you think of Bean's imagination moments throughout this?
Well, there's one where he pretends to be a tree, which is terrifying.
A bold choice.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of threads set up in this. It's like he has the imagination thing, but then the storyteller just tells him the solution to his problem. So it feels like there's just like so many threads set up that don't necessarily go anywhere. And I guess I maybe don't understand at the end of the day what the point of Bean's imagination thing is. I guess it's that he's a bunny and that's good enough. Is that right?
Yeah, which is what surprisingly the great grandmother says to him almost immediately when they get to her house.
Right.
Like, she almost immediately is like, here's the lesson.
Yeah.
But it
Right,
doesn't
but
sink in and doesn't really go anywhere. And like, we get a bunch of imagination moments, some of which we get to see visualized. And we also see throughout this that Bean is secretly very smart. Like, he has plans for things that come together pretty well.
Yeah.
But I also think that point isn't really hit as well as it could be.
That he's smart?
Yeah. Or like everyone respects him because of this. It's almost like they don't respect him until he can prove that dog is real and that there's a dog there. Like, then they're like, oh, okay, we'll listen to you a little bit now. But I don't feel like they fully come around. It's almost like, some Fraggle Rock episodes where at the end of it, you're like, okay, I don't know if you all learned the lesson you were supposed to learn.
Yeah, the people who were wrong never learned that they were wrong about anything.
Yeah, like they should have made him like the king of the bunny picnic at the end, like he dreamed about in the first song.
Yeah.
It's like, from a musical standpoint, like that was his I Want song.
Yeah.
And he had achieved some level of...
That would have made sense.
Yeah.
Or if there had just been a few more moments throughout of like, it's okay that you're a bunny. Like, you can still... I don't know. That lesson just felt so like... dropped at this part and then brought back at the end when they're all singing together. But
Yeah.
like in between, there was not a lot of it's okay to be a bunny or like you're strong even though you're little.
I mean, that was another part of this, with the Fraggle Rockness of it, is that it felt like it should have been shorter.
It was long in a way that sometimes Fraggle Rock is that makes it kind of hard to track what's supposed to be happening.
Right.
Or like in retrospect, you're like, why did they go there? And it's like, oh, maybe they just need to write another scene. But this thing didn't need to be 50 minutes for sure.
Right. Like, was that scene filler, or should I remember that because it's going to be important?
That's
later?
what it is. Yes. You don't know until the end. And then you think back on it and you're like, I can skip that part of my summary of this episode because that meant absolutely nothing.
Right. You know, like the puppet show with the giant hedgehog.
Well, that was important in a way that was very lazy, I would say.
But that's important in a way where when it happens, you don't really clock that anyone is taking in that information. It doesn't set it up in a way that you're like, this will come back later.
For me, when I saw that part, I was like, this is the rest of the movie. They're going to be a giant rabbit. Like, that's obviously what's going to happen.
You're going to get a sort of a Bug's Life situation.
That's what Rachel said too. It says the Bug's Life ending. But the giant rabbit also doesn't really go anywhere. Like that whole side story is kind of pointless.
Yeah, it does, you know, I guess let the dog have a bit more personality, that like they get to have a conversation because of that. But yeah, it doesn't really save the day.
If they had scared the farmer with the giant rabbit,
that would have been terrifying for him.
Yeah, that would be scary. He'd have to move. The farmer's just going to come back at the end also. Like, they haven't solved their problem. They need to kill this guy.
Yes, absolutely. They like, which I think they could. His allergies could be bad enough that if they actually climbed all over him, it could actually kill him.
Yeah, I think so too. And they should have.
Well, their grandma says that she has 95 grandchildren, and then says she has 9,000 great-grandchildren, and that she has 86,000 great-great-grandchildren.
Yeah.
And at this point, I was like, all right, let's do this math. Because by this logic, we could say that each of her grandchildren, the 95, on average, had about 95 kids each to get to 9,000. That's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
But then, to get to 86,000 great-great-grandchildren, her great-grandchildren would have only had like 9 kids each.
Oh.
So they slowed down a lot during that generation.
The math. Yeah.
So originally I was like, okay, I'm going to extrapolate that at, the lowest rate of 9 kids each. So then she'd have 774,000 great-great-great-grandchildren. And then, if they, again, each of them had 9, would be 6,966,000 great-great-great-great-grandchildren, of which Bean Bunny would be one of them.
That's the current population of the village that they live in.
That was my lowest estimate based on if they continued the 9 things. The problem with this is...
That's not the current population. That's just one part of the current population.
Correct. That's just this one family line.
Yeah.
The problem with that is she then says later on that she has 60,875 billion great-great-great-great-grandchildren.
No.
So even by the higher count of 95 kids each, if we take the great-great-grandchildren, that was 86,000, she'd have 8,170,000 great-great-great-grandchildren, and then 776 million great-great-great-great-grandchildren. So by that math of 95 kids each, she would get to 776 million. So somewhere along the way, the bunnies started having a lot more than 95 kids each to get to 60 trillion from 86,000 in 2 generations.
But you didn't do that math.
Well, you can't really. There's too many unknowns in between that.
That's true.
But the bunny family that we see only has 4. So they're not really keeping up with the Joneses as far as having thousands of children.
A rabbit can have between 1 and 14 litters a year. So this is not too crazy, maybe.
But how many is in a litter?
4 to 12.
4 to 12.
So
You have 14 litters a year?
you could have 14 litters a year with 12 babies each would be the maximum that
So
you
that'd
could
be
have a year.
168 babies a year.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
let's assume they have even, 3, like say 4 years of having babies. Like you're going to have almost 700 babies.
So this is real.
I mean, I guess, but like even then, I
That's
did the
crazy.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
They're like not trying very hard, really.
Yeah. if these-
95 is a joke.
and 9, what were you doing?
Lazy
We
rabbit.
had 1 litter and we're like, I guess we're done.
This is hard. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of veiled references to having sex in this children's story.
But this after grandma lays out how many great grandchildren she has, is the moment where she's talking to Bean about the dog, and she says, "I've only seen 2 dogs in my lifetime, and that was from a distance." And so Bean pretends to be a nasty old owl to scare off the dog, and the grandma tries to remind him that you can just be a bunny, and that's okay.
Yeah. Too early. Remind us of that later, Grandma.
Yeah, or like say it in a way that it doesn't sound like a big deal, but then you say it again later and it does sound like a big deal, because in this moment it sounds like a big deal, like she's trying to actually convince him, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But
Also, she's a witch. She's making potions.
Yeah, we find out grandma's magic is making magic potions, combining a sleeping potion and a hopping potion, so you can hop out of bed while you're still asleep.
Extremely Fraggle Rock moment again.
Why would bunnies need a hopping potion?
I guess to hop even better than they do. It's like,
or
maybe they don't hop naturally. Maybe they're all taking hopping potions to hop at all.
I mean, I didn't know how many babies they have, so maybe I don't know,
you don't know
their hopping
anything about these
tendencies.
guys, yeah.
Well, they're taking the pickled parsnips back to their mom, and Bean falls behind. So the dog spots him again. But before he attacks, he's going to strategize with a snail.
Yeah, this snail is great.
The snail is performed by David Rudman, who will go on to perform Cookie Monster. But more notably, I think in this moment, he goes on to perform Scooter and Janice.
Yeah.
And I think you can hear the David Rudman Scooter Janice voice in this snail.
Uh-huh.
But the dog starts singing Bunny Stew, a very threatening song about hunting Bean. And Bean decides to lay down and take a nap. Presumably, this is a weird moment.
Yeah,
because
I think so too.
They don't show us Bean Bunny trying the sleeping potion.
Yeah.
But there's a moment where he sort of falls asleep in Granny's house. And Lugsy's like, he must have tried the sleeping potion.
But they're all getting sleepy too, because of the fumes, I think, of the potion. But they never say that either. But everybody starts yawning it up.
Yeah, it must be like, one of those like cook this outside best recommendation kind of situations.
I think to me the sleeping potion part was the part where it started to lose me, because I was like, this is a very clumsy thing that in the end ultimately also doesn't really matter. Like they have to go and sneak off and get the sleeping potion. That's really I don't know. Why did Bean have to? I don't know. Bean has to fall asleep. Maybe Bean could have just lost his scarf and you lose that whole section.
Yes, that's the thing. I think Bean fell asleep so that they could get a song in here.
Yeah.
More because
dog moments. Yeah.
Yeah, because Bean wakes up and sees the dog also fell asleep. I guess the dog just fell asleep. I don't know if he had any sleeping potion fumes.
I don't believe sleeping potion is involved in that. Yeah.
So Bean runs away. This is when he leaves his scarf behind, and the dog decides to use his scarf to track the scent of Bean. Which, you could just have Bean get away, runs away, his scarf falls off, and the dog decides to track that. But then this thing would be the appropriate length. Meanwhile, the storyteller bunny arrives in a really cool vehicle.
Yeah, this guy kicks ass.
It's sort of like Professor Marvel in Wizard of Oz. It's sort of like that weird, like, traveling circus vehicle kind of thing.
Yeah, he's got more of like a hillbilly vibe than I was expecting him to have too. Not a very austere storyteller.
We get another song called The Story Show.
Like he seems like he's up to something, maybe, is really what it is.
I think so too, because he has like 5 seconds of story, and you're the storyteller, sir.
His story sucked ass. It was
Yeah.
so short.
Like,
And
you
they were like, we
travel.
love this one. He already told this story too. He couldn't
He's
think
already
of
told
another
it. It's
story.
5 seconds long, and it's literally just like the moral is the entire story.
And he comes once a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we also meet in this time a bunny who I think is very out of place in this story.
Is it Bebop Bunny?
It is Bebop Bunny.
Bebop Bunny, who doesn't look like any of the other bunnies.
He's
like
wearing
in witness,
sunglasses.
He's like in witness protection or something.
Yeah, I think he's the Poochie of the bunny picnic.
Yeah, he for sure. I mean, he looks just like Poochie.
But we also meet Mayor Bonaparte.
I thought for sure they were saying Mayor Bunny Fart, and I could not understand what they were saying. Bonaparte. Okay.
Bonaparte, like Napoleon.
Yes.
You know, for the kids.
There's such a weird thing in this where most of the bunnies have B names, but his brother and sister don't have B names. Bebop, Bonaparte, Blabber, I think is the one of them.
Babble. Yeah.
Babble. But then the siblings don't, and Bean has a B name.
Right.
The siblings do not have B names. It's like they were, I don't know. It's like towards the end of it, they were like just honing in on what this bunny village was. Because all of a sudden it is like they all have different names, like they're Smurfs. They all have their different roles. And like it's this whole, and I actually kind of liked that. I liked the bunny village, like their little society was kind of fun once we started to get into it a little bit more.
I mean, again, drawing that attention to the fact that Fraggle Rock has Gobo, Moki, Red, Boober, Marlin, Marvin. Like,
yeah,
they do have some regular weird names that
Yeah.
just stand out in weird ways. So.
That's true. But it's like they it's like halfway through they were like, the bunny should all have B names. Should we
Yeah.
go back and erase Lugsy and Twitch and switch it out? Nah.
Nah.
They'd be named Bugsy and Bitch.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Bugsy, they get sued, and the other one, you know,
Problematic.
Nobody would like that.
Yeah. No. So the storyteller tells the story through puppet show
Yeah.
of a fox that loved to eat hedgehogs.
And at this part, I was kind of like, when the puppet show started, I was like, here we go. This is going to be cool. It wasn't
It did
cool.
have maybe one of my favorite parts of the entire special.
Which is what?
So he's telling the story and he's like, there once was a fox that loved to eat hedgehogs. And the bunnies are all like, boo!
This guy sucks.
Boo!
Yeah. I like that too.
So when they booed the fox, I think that was maybe my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
But yeah, the story is that one day the fox fell asleep and was visited by a giant hedgehog who said, those who hurt others hurt themselves.
Another lesson. We're getting too many lessons in this.
And also, the you can just be a bunny one is actually does make sense in this story.
Yeah.
The those who hurt others hurt themselves plot line does not work in this.
That's a lesson for the dog to learn.
Yes.
And the farmer, I guess.
But he does not learn that lesson.
No. And the dog doesn't really either. The dog's a victim of circumstances in all situations.
Well, I think it's just too vague of a lesson. Like, hurt themselves. I feel like you'd have to be like, cool, how? Can you tell me more about that, please?
Yeah.
Like, I am a simple farm dog. I don't understand complex emotions, like guilt. But unfortunately, their little picnic story time gets interrupted because the dog discovers them. And this is one of the moments where I was really just expecting bloodshed.
There is an element of this where it is just like barely twisted enough that wouldn't
Yeah.
have been completely out of line.
Yeah, no, there's some it felt feeble-ish to me at sometimes.
Uh-huh.
But we get a lot of frantic running around, the dog chasing and barking, but it's that sort of like, it's like a high school play where you're just sort of like, run around and try to catch each other. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, if that would actually be really easy.
I could so easily were you to let me.
Yeah, but they have to act like the bunnies are actually getting away, so everyone's just
Right.
sort of crossing over each other, and it goes
Yeah.
on for a really long time. So the
Makes
mayor
the dog look real stupid.
Well, the bunny picnic is officially canceled by the mayor, but Lugsy has to admit that Bean was right. And we hear in this moment from somebody we haven't mentioned yet, our narrator.
Oh gosh, whose voice is this?
Obviously, it's Old Bean Bunny.
Oh, in retrospect, that makes a ton of sense. He sounds so wild though. He sounds like the guy on Big Thunder Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, who's like, it's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
Yeah, it is just kind of an old whispery Southern man voice.
Yeah.
Well, that night, the bunny family are singing a lullaby to their kids, mostly just their tiniest one.
It also kind of bothered me that they hide in this thicket,
Yeah.
but they can all get home. There's not really like a lot of tension to them hiding in the thicket.
The dog gives up extremely easily
Yeah.
at all times. He's just like, oh, okay, you ran away for 2 seconds. I guess I'll go back to the farm.
Or they have tunnels to their houses. I wasn't quite clear what was happening, but
I mean, that would make sense, but they didn't want to film that. It sounds too high budget, probably.
that's true. Yeah.
But the parents are singing Bunny Go High and Go Low. We see the singing owl puppet outside their house that was on The Muppet Show and in Emmett Otter.
Oh, okay.
It's the weird, like, little, what is it, like Jason and the Argonauts looking owl.
Oh, yeah, right.
But there's a sweet moment where his mom says, good night, Bean. He's like, I'm not Bean, I'm a giant hedgehog. And she's like, good night, giant hedgehog. This is when he's like, oh, I have an idea. Because Twitch, his sister, says, I'd be a giant hedgehog if it meant getting rid of that dog.
So I guess she kind of has the idea, really.
Well, yeah, I don't think she wasn't going to act on it in any
Yeah.
way. It's like, the one Wright brother said, man, it'd be great if we could fly. And the other one's like, I'm going to make a plane.
Is that true?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
But I also know next to nothing about the Wright brothers.
I saw Hank or John or somebody tweet, it's great that the Wright brothers, that we don't think about one of them as more important than the other. But then since then I've been thinking, like, which one did have the idea? I gotta know. Was one of them a hanger on?
Only one person could fly that plane at a time, so
Yeah, and one of them's like, unfortunately, I'm just too heavy. It has to be you.
I just said, look at that bird, and my brother was like, I have an idea.
Yeah, as it became clear that they were gonna have to actually fly this plane, one of them was like, I gotta start eating a lot of ham. I'm not flying that plane.
So after Twitch gives Bean the idea, the kids decide to sneak out in the middle of the night and recruit a bunch of their other bunny friends who all maybe live in the same tree.
I think they're going underground.
It was
I
a little
think they're-
unclear. Some of those doors were definitely like next to each other. Like I feel like Babel and Bebop's rooms were next to each other.
Yes, it is very odd. And also Bebop just starts appearing in this more and more and more. Like they were like, this is the character discovery of 1986. We love Bebop.
Yeah, they say his name. They're like, well, we got to get Bebop and Babel and
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
They
Like,
start talking about him a lot. Whenever he's not there, all the other characters have to say, where's Bebop? And they kind of do.
well, the dog is back at the farm and the farmer is still mad at him that he didn't get any bunnies for his stew. He takes away his food in this moment. He is starving his dog until he kills some bunnies for him. But the bunnies have been up all night working on their plan. But this is the moment where Lugsy won't let Bean help anymore because he's mad at him for being small.
Yeah, and this is where it starts to feel like a Fraggle Rock thing where the same thing just keeps happening over and over again. We're stuck
Like
in some kind of recursive hell.
Yeah, like they couldn't think of any deeper character moments for Lugsy. So they're like, oh, I guess we go back to the him picking on Bean thing.
Yeah, and also the rest of the whole movie takes place on this set or the set right outside of it. So it starts to feel very like stagnant to me at this point.
Yeah, I think like, comparing it again to Emmett Otter, I feel like each of the characters, even if we don't, get to meet their entire families and learn a lot about them, I feel like each of them feels like a deeper character. Even the Nightmare Band, like they all feel like more realized.
Just the
characters.
fact that they win in the end is like,
spoilers.
whoa, these guys are good.
Like each of their characters feels like they have their own personality, as opposed to here, it's just like, I'm the guy who makes fun of Bean.
And the Emmett Otter characters are all over the place. They're always on a different set.
Yeah.
And they go into town and they just are all over the place in a way that this one is just like, guess we're here, which Fraggle Rock sometimes can do too in a boring way.
But they, for some reason, need to send someone to Granny's to get the sleeping potion.
Yeah. What? Why do they need the sleeping potion? I completely missed that also.
Because they're going to
put the dog to sleep and then what? Kill him?
Maybe. Rip him to shreds. But they argue about who they're going to send because Lugsy and Bean argue about Bean being too small to go. And this is when he's imagining being a giant tree, which...
Still couldn't go if he was a giant tree. He'd be a tree.
He could be an ant.
That's true. It'd take him like 10 years to get over there.
But yeah, it's again one of these things where there's a few things like the imagination thing where they just have these threads running through the special that don't necessarily matter that much.
Yeah.
Like if he, throwing this out there, what if earlier on he had imagined being a giant bunny?
Being big.
Yeah.
Then the storyteller wouldn't even have to be there. They could just be
No.
having They could just be having bunny picnic.
And they would be like, Bean, your flights of fancy are never helpful. You got to stop. Like,
just
you're not a
stomp on
giant
him.
bunny. He's like, well, if I was a giant bunny.
I'd kick your fucking ass, Lugsy.
Well, the other thing that runs through this that I'm like, what were you trying to do here, folks? Is the easy peasy 1, 2, 3
I thought that was cute.
I think the first or second time it's fine. But the problem is it doesn't start at the very beginning. It starts like halfway through.
Yeah.
And different characters say it. So it's not like it's one character's catchphrase. It's like it's suddenly halfway through becomes just the way these siblings talk to each other.
Yeah, and this is similar to Bebop suddenly becoming talked about all the time. It's like a different thing at the end than it was at the beginning.
Yeah. But after Lugsy decides, you know what, I'm going to go get the sleeping potion, we get a dark moment where Bean says, I don't care if you are my brother. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. Felt a little too harsh for a kid's program.
Well, he's a big dickhead.
I get that, but like literally saying, I don't care if you're my brother, I hate you, feels like something
Yeah.
you wouldn't want kids to be able to replicate.
I suppose my little brother would say stuff like that to me all the time. He said, I wish you weren't even my brother. My brother used to run away all the time too.
To like the alley.
He used to like pack up his suitcase. We lived out in the country and we had a really long driveway. So he'd pack up his suitcase and he'd start walking down the driveway.
Sam,
He'd get like,
I have an important question to ask you.
Yeah.
Were you the Lugsy or the Bean?
Oh, I was the Lugsy big time.
I thought that was what we were going to reveal here in the podcast.
My favorite activity when I was a child, actually one of the crowning achievements of my life, really, was that when the smartest thing I ever thought of, when we would get money to buy toys, I would always convince him we could pool our money and we can get the toy that I want. And you can play with it. We could both play with it, have a great time. So then I'd end up with double the money and he'd end up with no toys. It was fantastic. Really worked out for me.
Wow. I imagine, because I know your house has many a toy and things scattered about. Yeah. I now imagine he has a barren house with nothing on the shelves or walls because he has no idea what it is like to have toys. And you're like, these are my riches. This is what I have gathered with my brother's money.
Well, his partner is an artist, and she filled their house up with knickknacks, but he had nothing. He really had nothing. So you're right.
You that's your fault.
His house was like after the Grinch broke into it and stole all his stuff.
But you're the Grinch in this situation.
Yeah. I was not. He was always bigger and stronger than me. So there was definitely.
So you had to win with the mind games because you couldn't out fight him.
I was the smart one. He was the strong one. Generally, everything was fine. It's just when the toy situation, my parents eventually caught on and were like, you cannot do that anymore. But yeah, I was more Lugsy for sure. I think he went through a Lugsy phase when we got older. Now we're more equal, but yeah. Yeah, I could have done a better job, Matt. Is that what you're trying to say? We needed a Twitch to keep us balanced out, but we didn't have one.
You didn't have a Twitch.
Mm-mm. But I guess all that is to say, that's a very common thing. I feel like that didn't strike me as strange because my brother hated me and told me that all the time.
I think it is realistic.
But
I think
putting it
in a children's show and not really having it be something they have to deal with later.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we could get a Muppet Babies episode where Gonzo says he hates Animal or something like that. And then they have to have like a sit down conversation of like, hey, you don't hate Animal.
Yeah.
You got upset, you got frustrated, but that's not something we say to our weird adopted siblings. So the bunnies are running distraction for Lugsy, trying to keep the dog distracted. And in the middle of that, Bebop becomes the hero.
Yeah.
Kicks the dog
so
way further than you would ever imagine.
Yeah.
So Bean decides to go up into a tree to keep an eye out for Lugsy returning, but he immediately messes up.
Clearly never done Lookout before or anything, because he just says, hey, Lugsy, what you doing over there?
Hey, look over there. There's my brother stealing the sleeping potion. And so the dog goes, oh, hey, look, it's the bunny that I was going to eat. So the dog lunges to get Lugsy. Another moment where I was like, he's going to kill him.
I think actually this moment shouldn't be in the special because it validates everything Lugsy says and thinks about Bean. He
Right.
fucks up all the time, and he's
He is a
stupid.
fuck up. You're right. I think this is a weird moment in general, but it is weird to validate Lugsy as the character who was right the whole time. But yeah, the way Dog grabs Lugsy, I was legitimately concerned he was just gonna pull his head off or something.
Yeah, because Lugsy at this point is just like a stuffed animal, like literally just like it doesn't have a human hand inside of him,
No.
and it's being like flung around in Dog's mouth.
But he yells at Lugsy, the farmer's gonna have you for his stew. And then Lugsy clumsily throws the sleeping potion in the dog's face. And then they both fall asleep.
Was that the plan the whole time? I'm not clear.
Also, we don't really see the sleeping potion thing happen in a clear storytelling way. We're just kind of like, oh, he hit him with the sleeping potion.
Yeah.
But Lugsy falls asleep faster with the sleeping potion. So the dog is able to pick him up and put him in a bag before he himself falls asleep.
Yeah. And now the story has just gone out of control, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, because I think somebody says, I think Twitch or somebody is like, the only thing to do is continue with Bean's plan.
Well, how does Bean's plan applicable at all anymore? The dog's asleep.
Yeah.
I guess the dog isn't asleep yet. So sure.
So they change it up. Bean's going to be on top instead of Lugsy, so he'll have to do the talking. I do like that they kind of keep the plan a secret throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't say, we're building a giant bunny costume. Let's do this.
The giant bunny is fun.
Oh, yeah, because it's just a dude.
I didn't even think about that until just now. But yeah, it is.
Like, it's just a guy once you get in there. But the dog wakes up, planning on going to get all the other bunnies. But when he wakes up, he does see the giant bunny, which is filled to the brim inside, Oogie Boogie style, with a bunch of little bunnies.
This is like the third time in 3 episodes I think we've referenced Oogie Boogie.
That's not our fault. That's the Muppets' fault for they keep making Oogie Boogie style characters.
Yeah.
Here's a sack filled with something.
Yeah.
But Bean yells out, I am the giant bunny, which works because the dog immediately says, please don't hurt me, giant bunny. And they keep saying the words giant bunny, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
Much like when we talked about the space frog, where they just kept repeating it so many times, it became funny.
Yeah. It's like, I don't have a name. I'm a giant bunny. So that is how I have named myself.
You have 2 characters without names having to talk to each other right now.
Yeah. That's true.
But the giant bunny lays out the lesson and says, those who hurt others hurt themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog says, wow, that's profound.
Thank you for your wisdom. Yeah.
So the dog tries to tell the bunny what's going on, says the farmer needs bunnies for his stew. But then Bean starts to lose his nerve and also, I guess, his acting chops.
Yeah, this is weird because he says stew and then Bean's like, stew. Kind of like his dad's afraid of the word dog. But this is also not something that's been established that Bean is afraid of stew. But I guess if they had said Bean's really scared of being cooked and eaten at some point earlier in the thing.
Right.
I don't know. I guess you don't need
the recurring nightmare about being eaten.
Yeah. But he knows the stakes. Like, he knows they're going to be killed one way or the other. I don't know why it would be scarier. Like, what happens to your corpse after you're dead would be more or less scary to you.
I do like in that moment, though, where the dog is like, are you feeling all right, Mr. Giant Bunny?
Yeah.
Because the costume then collapses.
And this is another moment where everyone's validated and that Bean is a loser.
That's true. And the dog immediately realizes and says, hey, you're not a real giant bunny. And then Bean, as everyone else escapes, gets stuck in the costume, Winnie the Pooh style. And the dog is able to grab him. Well, after the dog grabs Bean, he is going to put him in the bag. So Lugsy and Twitch attempt to save Bean by grabbing the sack that the dog was going to put him in. And they do the thing where they're tugging on it, and then they let go, and he flies backwards.
Classic. Love doing that. I
There's
used
a
to do
lot of
that to
physical comedy.
My little brother too.
There's a lot of physical comedy with a dog that I didn't expect.
Mm-hmm. This dog, they're doing a lot of bold stuff with this dog.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do some of the full body stuff. Like, I guess he's hidden behind trees a lot, but some of it just is like, how are we not seeing a person here right now?
Yeah, it's more convincing than the sprocket on the treadmill.
On the treadmill, yeah.
Well, the farmer comes in once again yelling at the dog. Bean hears the terrible farmer. And the dog says, "He's gonna kill me." And Bean gets brave when he realizes the dog is in danger.
Mhm.
And I like this character beat because Lugsy and Twitch are being like, "Bean, let's go.
Yeah.
We can save ourselves. Let's get out of here." And
Yeah.
Bean's like, I am going to help this dog.
And this is like a third lesson from a third different story.
Right, because this isn't it kind of ends up being this, but it's not the like being a bunny is good enough.
It's close to that. Yeah.
It's close, but it's being a bunny is good enough if the guy you're fighting is allergic to bunnies.
Yeah. I'm just thinking also now that this is how the Muppet movie also ends. Like they save the day with allergies in that too.
Huh.
When they make the lady sneeze.
Well, I guess when you have a perfect ending to a story, you just stick with that idea. Bean learns that the bunnies make the farmer sneeze something awful, and this gives Bean another idea. So he starts singing a song called "Drum of Time."
Weird. I
It's
like this song in part though.
I think it's the best song of the special.
Mhm.
And my theory is that it's maybe inspired by "Do You Hear the People Sing" from Les Mis.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Les Mis opened in London a year before this special.
Oh, that's where they got the idea.
And this song like references drums, like just like the Les Mis song. And it is very much of like a chanting, people start joining the chorus. Let's do this shit. Let's kill some people. Let's do it.
Then the King of France's pants fall down at the end too.
And Mayor Bonaparte's there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought they were going to give him an allergic reaction and kill him. But he does just sneeze his pants off and gets embarrassed, gives up, and runs away.
He gets embarrassed in front of a bunch of rabbits and a dog.
He's never going to tell anyone this story.
Yep. But the rabbits are wearing clothes, I suppose. So, you know. Some of them have more clothes on than him at that point. I guess that would be embarrassing.
Yeah.
If you were naked in a room full of dogs who had clothes on, that would feel wrong.
I think there's a couple layers in which I would feel uncomfortable in that moment.
Yeah. I'm not sure which. Yeah. This is when Rachel said, this is just the ending of A Bug's Life. But you're right, too, because they make the fake bird. I forgot about that. And that doesn't work. And then they all get together and they collective action Hopper. The farmer doesn't get eaten, but, you know.
Which it all, goes back to Seven Samurai as like the inspiration for a lot of these things.
It's the most remade fictional story, I think. I read that somewhere. Like the most remade movie of all time is Seven Samurai, if you count all of those things. And now we have to count Bunny Picnic, too. Actually, this would have been badass as a Seven Samurai story.
They could have leaned into that more.
That would have been cool, yeah.
Well, the dog thanks Bean for helping save his life, but he's also sad because he has nowhere to live. And so Bean's like, well, you can stay with us. And then he's like, okay, but I also don't have a name. And Bebop's like, don't worry, I got you.
Bebop, bebop, bebop.
This is the real hero moment of this entire special film, whatever you want to call this thing. And Bebop comes in to rename him Dee-Dop Diddly Dog Bop. And then we learn that our narrator the entire time has been Old Man Bean Bunny.
I don't like Old Man Bean Bunny.
Now, do you not like it because he's a disturbing looking puppet? Or do you not like it because you suddenly realized these Muppets age?
Yeah, both of these things, they have the Fraggle disease where they don't know that they're Muppets, so they also age and die.
It does align with your logic.
A spell broken only by discovering that you are a Muppet and there's a man underneath you with his hand up you.
Once you know the word Muppet and that you are one of them,
yes, then you live
forever.
But yeah, he just looks kind of creepy too.
Yeah, and he's reading to a much, much smaller crowd of bunnies. Like
than
telling
the
them
storyteller was.
He's like telling them the tale of the old bunny picnic that they had, which is like 100 bunnies hanging out, and he's reading to like 12.
What happened? What went wrong?
Maybe a bigger, meaner dog came around.
Also, what's this dog gonna? Oh, this is what happened. Because I was wondering, what's the dog gonna eat? The dog secretly has been like,
oh, what happened to Babel?
He's trying to eat lettuce for a few months. He's like, I'm literally dying.
Yeah,
then
which
Lugsy
bunny
walks
do you like the least, Bean?
Lugsy walks in and turns into a big hot dog in front of the dog's eyes. I'm so sorry.
You're right. You are bigger than Bean. More meaty, more protein. But that does it for the tale of the bunny picnic. I actually wanted to run through a few, little fun facts about this of like who plays who, because we have Babel, who's played by Karen Prell, very obviously the same puppeteer as Red Fraggle. Sounds just like Red Fraggle. The Babel puppet will also be seen in the Kokomo music video in 1988.
Oh. They've been
We
playing that a lot on a radio station in town lately for some reason. And I'm like so close to looking up the video, but I'm like, I gotta stop. I can't do it.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Yeah.
Baby Bunny is also played by Karen Prell. Bebop is performed by Kevin Clash, a puppet that will also show up in the Kokomo music video.
Weird. Why are there so many bunnies in it?
I'm not really
I
sure.
don't think of bunnies as like a tropical island guy.
Bean Bunny, played by Steve Whitmire. Bulbous, who's the bunny that eats a lot.
Oh, see a bee name.
Yep. Played by Mike Quinn, who has been in a lot of Henson things. He's also the guy inside Nien Nub in Return of the Jedi.
Hell yeah. Nien Nub's one of the best guys.
Absolutely. Dog is played by Jim Henson, and this puppet is used a bunch more times, even as recently as 2021.
Oh, wow.
It's the Gravedigger's dog in Muppets Haunted Mansion.
Oh, cool.
The Farmer is performed by Marty Robinson, the guy behind Snuffy and Telly.
Okay.
Father Bunny is played by Kevin Clash. The Great-Grandmother Bunny is also Karen Prell, who is very busy in this production. Lugsy is Richard Hunt, obviously. Mayor Bunny Part, also Mike Quinn, and this bunny will also be seen in the Muppet Christmas Carol as one of the, townspeople.
Just the guys, yeah.
Mother Bunny is performed by Louise Gold. The Snail, David Rudman. Another puppet that will be reused, but this one will be reused in the Animal Show and Moppatop Shop.
Okay.
Storyteller Bunny was performed by Ron Muick, the man behind the giant unsettling baby and human art that we've talked about in the past.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And Twitch was performed by Camille Bonora, who was performed Molly in Little Muppet Monsters.
Oh, that was actually one thing I did like about this. And one thing I've been liking about Fraggle Rock is just like, I love the core Muppet guys, but I also really like the variety of performers that they have, and just like having more people available to perform characters, I think adds a lot.
But I think I still missed Frank.
Yes, I still missed Frank because the dad sounds like Frank at first, and I was like, there he is. But then it wasn't him. But it's fun to have a Frank pop up. It's fun to have all the old guys with the new guys too.
Right.
But I mean, I think the puppetry in this was great. I think a lot of it looked great. I like the scene where the dog was like chasing the chickens around. It's like shot really beautifully, and it's kind of like dusty. The story just stinks though.
I think there's just too many threads that go nowhere, or there's just too many ideas that like come in halfway through. And so, it doesn't feel as like neatly written as an episode of Fraggle Rock usually is, but it feels also an awful lot like an episode of Fraggle Rock. It feels like maybe like a weird writing assignment that was between episodes of Fraggle Rock was like, hey, could you also write this? And it's like, sure, I guess.
My head's just really in Fraggle Rock mode right now, but I'll try.
Well, Sam, that means it's time for the return of our Muppet of the Week.
Wow.
But this week's Muppet of the Week is Bean Norman Bunny.
Wow, where does that come from?
I think it is in Muppets at Walt Disney World, and Bean Bunny's talking to Scooter, and he says his middle name is Norman.
I cannot wait to watch that.
I'm very excited. But he is the adorable little rabbit in the red cardigan and the blue scarf, who will go on to have a nice 20-ish year run with the Muppets.
He found Gobo's cardigan.
Yeah, that's where it ended up. So obviously Bean Bunny debuts here in 1986 in the tale The Bunny Picnic. But we will see him next in the Jim Henson Hour, which we'll probably be talking about early next year.
Sheesh.
Yeah, it's a while. We got
what the hell are we doing? Oh, Christ almighty.
We've got Muppet Babies. We've got more Fraggle Rock. We've got Labyrinth. We've got probably more Sesame Street to watch. But beyond the Jim Henson Hour, Bean will go on to be featured in many Muppet projects throughout the 90s and early 2000s, including the Muppets at Walt Disney World, Muppet Vision 3D, and the Muppet Christmas Carol. and most recently in a 2008 online video for Disney Extreme Digital.
2008.
Yes,
That's the most recent.
that is the most recent appearance of Bean
Okay.
Bunny. Mostly, it seems like due to Steve Whitmire becoming Kermit the Frog and
Yeah.
Rizzo becoming so popular, Bean Bunny took a back seat. It's mostly pushed to the background after the early 90s. So he has a good run here in the late 80s, early 90s, where he seems like he is the new star of the Muppets. And then Steve Whitmire becomes Kermit, Rizzo becomes super popular, and there's no more time for Bean Bunny.
Yeah.
But he would also feature in some other non-traditional Muppet projects, like being a walk-around character in stage shows at Disney World. And
Which is fucking crazy. Of everybody that they could have built, they built Bean.
Well, and he's also going to show up in animated form in the 7th season of Muppet Babies.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But his one and only performer has been Steve Whitmire, which is another reason that we're not seeing Bean Bunny as much these days.
Sure.
Family-wise, we've got Father Bunny, Mother Bunny, Big Brother Lugsy, Big Sister Twitch. Both of those puppets also will go on to appear in the Jim Henson Hour, by the way.
Millions and billions of unseen other relatives, too.
Obviously, yeah. We've got Baby Bunny, who's the sibling in the crib. And then we got Great-Great-Great-Great-Grandmother Bunny, a puppet that will also be reused later as one of the carolers during the Scrooge number in Muppet Christmas Carol. And yeah, since 2015, the Bean Bunny puppet is on display at the Center for Puppetry Arts in their Worlds of Puppetry exhibit. So that might be the one and only Bean Bunny that's out there right now, is also just a museum piece.
Well, there's that thing going around that he's in too bad a shape to use anymore.
Right. Yeah. That's what they've said, is that basically, like, they've talked about using him for things, but the puppet was in too bad of shape, so they just didn't bother spending the money to refurbish him or build a new one.
That's too bad.
But that's really all there is to say right now about Bean Bunny. So what would you rate Bean Bunny out of 10?
I think I'm realizing as we go on that the Muppets at Walt Disney World, Muppet Vision 3D, and Muppet Christmas Carol were really my entry into the Muppets.
Yeah.
I know I watched the Muppet Show when I was younger than that, but those I think were the ones where I was like, these guys are hilarious. And Bean is a huge part of at least the Muppets at Walt Disney. Oh, he's a huge part of all three of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, Bean is like one of the guys. And I think it's funny that he comes from this other thing and is like intruding into their world, and they're like so disdainful of him.
He's the Poochie.
Yes, he is big time the Poochie, and I just think it's a funny conceit that he is cute and gets hurt. That for some reason is one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Is that they're just booting this guy around. And yeah, I just love him. So I'm going to give him, how many do I do it out of 10?
10.
Jeepers creepers. I'm going to give him gosh, what's wrong with Bean Bunny? Nothing. I'm going to give him a 9.
Wow.
I love Bean Bunny.
I also love him, but I think because he has such a short time period and most of it I haven't seen, I feel it's like only fair to give him a 7 for now.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he and Rizzo, that's like, which one would I have if I had to choose one of them? Because you kind of do have to choose one.
Right.
Of them. I would choose Rizzo every time.
Mm.
So I don't know. Whatever I rated Rizzo, rate him a half star less than Rizzo. Have we
That was probably
done
like 8 years ago.
Have we done Rizzo yet?
We did whenever he was introduced in the Muppet Show. So
okay.
Whenever that happened, we talked about him.
Somebody tell me. Somebody go back and look it up. That's what I rate him, though. 1/2 star lower than Rizzo.
So, Sam, before we get out of here, I got to ask, do you get time to enjoy any non-Muppet things this week?
You heard of this movie Abigail?
Heard of it. Scary, right?
Have you seen a trailer for it?
I have.
Ah, shoot. So you know what it's about?
I mean, loosely. I don't really pay attention to horror movie trailers because I know I'm not going to go see it.
It's not actually that. So I went to see that. I'm usually the same way as you. I didn't realize how scary it seemed like it was going to be until it started, and I was like, oh shit, I'm screwed. But it's more like, it's almost more like Evil Dead or something. It's like very over the top, and once the twist happens, then it's not scary anymore. It's just kind of like a buckets of blood kind of situation, like in a fun way. But it's about these people who kidnap a little girl for money. They bring her back to this mansion for the guy so that they can like hold her there until the money gets paid under the instruction of their boss. And then there's a twist about who this little girl is, and things go horribly wrong. I mean, the trailer gives the twist away, so
Right.
there's not much of a point in not saying what the twist is. But if you haven't seen the trailer, see the movie and tell me
Yeah.
how you like it, because they fucked up big time revealing what the twist was in this trailer. This movie would have been so much more fun if you had gone in and didn't know what was going to happen,
Mm,
because it is really fun.
right.
And if you're gonna watch this movie and you haven't seen the trailer, I implore you to turn it off right now.
Oh,
I'll
you're
give
gonna
you
say it?
Yeah. So she's a vampire, is what happens.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the movie, they keep talking about her dad. And I was like, what if her dad's Dracula? And then at the end, her
Who's
dad's
dead?
Dracula. And it's so fucking cool.
Who plays Dracula?
I don't know, some British
Oh.
guy. But so there's a weird part too where they show this portrait of her dad the whole time, but he has this huge bucket hat on, like an old timey medieval bucket hat, and you can't see the top of his head. And it really seems like they're gonna deep fake Bela Lugosi, because it's a Universal movie and they could
Right. That'd
but
be
they
kind of
don't.
funny.
It does feel like they were trying to like amp themselves up to do that, because they're hiding his face, but the reveal is just a British guy who you've seen before, but not somebody who's like a known Dracula, and it's not like a super famous crazy Pole.
Oh, it's Ozymandias from Watchmen.
Yeah, so it's just like somebody perfectly normal you'd expect to be in a movie like this.
Also, I'm sorry to everyone that I know Matthew Good is from many other things, and that is maybe not the first thing you think of when you think of Matthew Good, but that is the first thing I think of when I think of Matthew Good.
Yeah. But it was really stupid and fun, and if they make Abigail 2, I'll be there to see Abigail 2. I also started watching. Oh, if you paused it, you can turn it back on now.
That's not how podcasts work.
I also
They're already
started-
gone. They're at the
I
theater
also-
watching Abigail.
They better be. I also started watching Fallout,
Oh,
which is I'm watching it. I've played those games for months
Yeah.
of my life that I shouldn't have played them. And Rachel has never played any of it, but watched me play a little bit of it. It's fun, but it is so weird. So it's literally set in the same universe as the games. Like it is
right,
it is canonical to the games.
right.
And it's so weird how much they lean into, like, if you get the stim pack, you heal up. Like if you get shot and stabbed a million times, they stim pack you and you're back. Like it makes functionally like brings you back from the dead.
right.
And there's a lot of other things in it that's like, that's a mechanic from the game. That's really a strange thing to just like
right. Lean
gloss
into.
over. But it's really fun too. But I'm curious how people who don't have any familiarity with the game approach the like, so that dog was dead and then he got a stim pack and now is literally back to life. How on earth would that have happened? But I mean, it feels, just for better and for worse, it feels exactly like you're playing the game. How about you?
I watched a really strange thing on Saturday morning.
What was it?
I watched the first race, is being generous, of the A2RL, which is the Abu Dhabi Autonomous Racing League.
Oh, wow.
They got a bunch of cars that look like Formula One cars and a bunch of computer coders to compete in coding an AI driver. And so they had
That's fascinating.
driverless Formula One style cars. The goal was that they were going to go out and have a race, like an 8-lap race against each other.
Uh-huh. How fast are they going?
They supposedly can go like 200 miles an hour.
Okay.
It went very poorly.
Oh, amazing. I love to hear that.
So they're building this thing up as like, it's the first time you're going to see these autonomous vehicles race against each other, all this stuff. And the problem with that is they built one car that was like the company that runs this thing. They built one. They made it perfect. It went out. It drove a bunch of laps. They had a human driver go out there and sort of like race it a little bit, so it like they could pass each other and show that like, look, this works.
Uh-huh.
The other 8 teams that were actually going to do the race were like amateurs from around the world that they had
Ugh.
like, it's like a science competition essentially. And the winning team got like millions of dollars. But the teams weren't quite as good as the professional one that they built because every car had some problems. 4 of the 8 ended up qualifying and actually being able to be in the race.
Uh-huh.
And like the first lap, one of them spun out and the other ones just all stopped in place, like not wanting to pass the car that spun out. So they all just like stopped on the track, like perfectly like 5 car lengths apart from each other
Uh-huh.
and like refused to move. And so
Wow.
this like 8-lap race ended up being like a 5.5, 6-lap race with like half of those laps being done under a caution. And so there was really like 1 lap of them at full speed.
That's
So
amazing.
it
I'm
kind of
watching GIFs of all of the cars crashing and just stopping and spinning around and stuff.
yeah.
Why wouldn't they just get a bunch of professionals to make all the cars?
Well, I mean,
Why not just make all the cars? One team just makes all the cars, and they just are having some fun.
well, because they wanted this to be an experimental thing. Like they kept calling it like this is a public science experiment, essentially.
Okay.
Like they wanted this to be a thing to promote STEM and to get teams from like universities and all these things to try out and try to. It's like a BattleBots kind of thing where some BattleBots really
Sure.
suck. This
Yeah.
is what if all the BattleBots sucked. And to be fair, like when they show them like out on their own, just doing 1 lap by itself, very impressive. It does a good job. The moment there was like 2 cars having to react to each other, they failed miserably.
Oh boy, they made like fake robot avatar drivers for them.
Yeah.
It's funny to think of them just being like, "Uh-oh, bzerp," these like tough guy looking robots.
Yeah, I almost we were watching it and I think Devin said something that like I wish they had like the robots in the driver's seat. Like there was just like a
You'd be
robot
like,
sitting there.
Oh no.
But instead it's one of those things where it's very easy to laugh at because they did look ridiculous when it was actually trying to do a thing.
Yeah.
At the same time, they did program race cars to drive 200 miles per hour on their own around a
Yeah.
racetrack, which is very impressive. And it is super weird to watch race cars go around a track and you can see the cockpit and there's nobody sitting in it. So
Yeah.
impressive, but I don't think they should have like tested it a little bit more before they hyped up this idea of doing the first race because the race was terrible.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with I think that's really interesting too. And it would be fun to watch a good race with no human racers.
I was so excited to watch, like, even if it was 1 lap, I wanted to see them passing each other or trying to whatever.
It
'Cause
does
I feel like
seem
this is something that would like happen in a futuristic movie, like in a Speed Racer or something,
Uh-huh.
where it's like that driver's just a simulation or
that
whatever.
would be the bad guy driver for sure. But
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, but there's like no pressure for them to do this quickly. So it does. I do wonder, like, why didn't they just
I think
make
they
sure
just
the first one was good?
there's some hubris involved where I think they got 1 car programmed really well and they were like, oh, I bet we could do a whole bunch of these and make them race each
Yeah.
other. And like technically it works a little bit, but it was not
I
a good
guess
race.
at the same time, it being bad, probably gets more people to know what it is too.
Yeah, but only in a bad way. Like the impressive
Yeah, I
part
guess,
I
yeah.
think disappears when all you're hearing about is like they tried to make AI race cars and they
Yeah.
just stopped on track.
Or then maybe if you watch it and it's good the next time, you're like, oh, that's stupid. I want to see them be bad.
Yeah. Well, before we get out of here, got to let you know what we're watching next time. And next time, we're moving into the summer of 1986 with our Labyrinth Spectacular.
It's a big one.
Not only will we watch the film itself, but we'll also watch a couple of David Bowie music videos that he made that have labyrinthy things in the music videos. But we'll also watch some Jim Henson interviews about Labyrinth. And we are watching the documentary Inside the Labyrinth, all about the making of the movie. It's a big one. But we need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to commitment.com for all your commitment needs. And while you're listening to the podcast on your podcast player of choice, don't forget you can rate and review the podcast. But you can send us that email at mail@commitment.com. And you can follow us on social media at commitmentpod. And you can follow me on social media at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.